Okay, we had the new parts come through from the factory. We'll get them on the car ahead of FP1.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Aarava here, and welcome back to an episode of my F1 2018 career mode here today for part number 11 at the German Grand Prix at Hockenheim. It's going to be good to be back in Hockenheim, one of my favourite circuits on the F1 game to drive, and I feel like with the new downforce in 2018 compared to the last time we drove around Hockenheim in 2016, it's going to feel bloody amazing. But with a major downforce upgrade, making progress still, looking at the chart, still well ahead of Renault and McLaren, which is good to see. Renault and McLaren have been swapping back and forth, but you can see a bit more of a zoomed-in version here. And all three of us, though, to be fair, as a unit of the top midfield teams, all three of us are converging on the top three. So you would say probably this time next season, Season 2, I think us three teams, if the progress continues like this, and there's not too bad of an R&D reset maybe at the end of this season, we could be looking very, very good. But let's go into practice then and see how we do around Hockenheim.
Guten Tag and welcome to Hockenheim, home of the German Grand Prix, for today's practice session. It's a big weekend for a number of our top drivers as they look for success on home soil. We'll be getting underway shortly to see how they get on. Now then, Anthony Davidson, there's been a lot of talk over the last few weeks about track limits. How much is too much when you're cutting corners and running wide? What are your thoughts on this? And do you think we'll be seeing drivers pushing those limits this weekend?
Well, I'd be disappointed if we didn't, frankly. If race control want to clamp down on drivers wandering off the track, then it's up to them to police it. As a driver, you're being paid to get your car around the circuit as quickly as possible, don't forget. So if you're not pushing those limits, if you're ignoring the advantageous line, then you're not doing your job properly. Now, I agree that, we have these white lines there for a reason, and we do want to see those limits enforced, but for me, it's not a driver's responsibility to do that.
So like I said, very happy to be here back in Hockenheim, and the practice program's pretty straightforward here at Hockenheim. No kind of big major surprises there. Sometimes you never know with the newer circuits or old circuits coming back into the game. Sometimes the practice programs can be a little bit harder or easier. Either way, Hockenheim seemed pretty standard and average compared to all the other circuits really. And it was time to push the limits and find the limits with this brand new downforce. Because like I said, of course, the last time we were here was 2016 downforce. So we haven't even experienced the high downforce cars ever yet around Hockenheim. Eventually did find the limits, and I was feeling pretty damn good, so I think qualifying could be a really strong one for us. Let's go into it.
Welcome to Germany for today's qualifying session at the famous Hockenheimring. The pit lane lights will turn green in the next minute or two to signify the start of qualifying. Now then, Anthony Davidson, you're not getting any younger, but you have been involved in your fair share of qualifying sessions in an illustrious 30-year career. How do you deal with the pressure when you have that one chance to deliver a perfect lap?
It's not so much about dealing with the pressure, it's more about how you approach the risk, and just how much of it are you willing to take. You're constantly balancing the car on the edge of grip from braking, cornering and traction, and over the course of a lap, it's easy to get that balance wrong, and that's why achieving the perfect lap is almost impossible. As you say, I've been doing this 30 years now, and it never gets any easier.
So we're straight into a very gloomy looking Hockenheim here, so overcast conditions for now, and I think it's going to be the same for the race maybe, so a bit of a depressing kind of look to the episode as a whole, because you would have seen in the preview videos, Hockenheim does look lovely with the sun here and the sun glare, but unfortunately, yeah, all the clouds have come over, but we're on the soft tyres at the moment, not the fastest compound available, because we're trying to get through into Q2 on a slower tyre if we can, save tyres for qualifying just to make sure maybe I have another run across the line though, and it's not going to be a very good lap time there. It's P7 for now, but by the time we come back into the garage, you can see I've already slipped down to P10, and I'm slipping further and further down the order as we fast forward this through, and then it's very, very clear to me that we're going to get knocked out here, so I need to go onto a set of those ultra soft tyres. So like we have had before, it's one of the circuits where it jumps the tyre compound, goes from ultras, skips out super softs, go to soft, and then goes to medium. So yeah, really a big delta time where even even some of the top cars might find it a little bit kind of what's the kind of phrase, collar pulling, I guess you could say, or kind of just shirt tugging at the neck of trying to get into the next session. And pretty much I definitely butchered that reference, but there we go. We're into Q2 then. Magnussen found a lot more pace, so at the moment he's looking very, very comfy compared to me. You can see there the Ferrari cars were out qualified by myself on soft tyres, so that's the big delta difference. But actually, to my surprise, we've got some sun now in Q2, so definitely it's going to be overcast for the race, but I guess the sun's come out here a little bit, and you can see now Hockenheim doesn't look so dreary. So we're in our Q2 fast lap then on the ultra soft tyres here. Of course, trying to get into the top 10 shootout. It's a pretty tidy lap, and I think it should be good to get straight into Q3. I don't think we'll need to go for another run across the line, and it is going to be good enough to get into Q3. And you can see here, we're in there with the Renault, McLaren, and Force India, to my surprise. Sergio Perez in, Kevin Magnussen knocked out of Q2. So it's been about 2 and 3 episodes now that Magnussen's been getting knocked out in Q2, which has surprised me, but it does open him up to strategy, to be fair, because obviously because of the medium compound tyre going quite long around Hockenheim, he could open himself up to a very good strategy compared to maybe some of the top guys here in the top 10. But we're going to go on our first fly then in Q3, try and see if we can get ahead of that Renault and McLaren of Alonso and Hülkenberg. But you can see there, caught the curbing, and just the car, like the rear end, stepped out of me as I entered the apex there, so I had to back out that lap. And so we go for a second flyer on a second set of ultra soft tyres, new ones I put on, and you can see there still the rear steps out a little bit compared to my Q2 lap. And so I don't know what it was, but into Q3 just didn't have the complete confidence into turn 1 like I did with Q2 to nail what is usually just a one quick gear change down and then quickly just chuck it in there. But the rear end just kept stepping out, and also you can see through that right-hander there, the rear steps out again. So Q3, the track was evolving and getting away from me a little bit, so that was a little bit weird. So I don't know if Magnussen maybe got that in Q2, but yeah, so we go across the line, and it's only P8 behind Hülkenberg for now, ahead of Fernando Alonso. But disappointing to say the least, because you saw on the chart at the beginning of the episode, we should be technically ahead of Renault and Alonso, and we're not. So yeah, we're out-qualified by Hülkenberg, which is a little bit annoying and upsetting, because I think we should have had that twice. Turn 1 just wasn't good enough, so we're gonna have to look out for that. But also, to be fair, going into the quali, we didn't have the best components for our engine. Going into the race, we will now be finally changing some components on our engine. You can see there, I'm changing the ones that finally I did not change earlier, that we only have 2 available for the year, and so now we'll have a pretty damn fresh engine for the race. So let's get into the intro and go to the Hockenheim grid.
Good afternoon and welcome to a place that is very special to us all in the Formula One community. It's the Hockenheimring, home of the German Grand Prix. Always good for a close scrap is Hockenheim. Think back to Alonso, Ricciardo, Vettel as recently as 2014, and I'm expecting some more strong racing today. With average lap speeds of around 130 miles per hour, the Hockenheimring is a quick circuit with a lap distance of 2.8 miles, around 17 corners. The main DRS zone through Parabolica leads into the hairpin for the best overtaking opportunity on the track.
Not really, to be honest. I mean, you do get a bit of a pep talk, I suppose. There's certainly somewhat of a raised sense of importance when it's the team's home race, but at the end of the day, we're all professionals. I mean, I want to win every race I compete in, and the teams want to win every race they compete in too. So the stakes are unbelievably high at this level. I mean, the effort is 100%, 24/7 all year round, whether it's your home Grand Prix or not.
We're almost ready to go then, and this is what the starting grid looks like for today's race. Sebastian Vettel will start on pole. Fantastic qualifying from the multiple world champion. And Kimi Räikkönen completes the front row. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Bottas, Hamilton, Daniel Ricciardo, and Hülkenberg. The engineer, Alonso, Perez, and Kevin Magnussen. Ocon, Sainz, Stoffel Van Dorn, and Gasly, Verstappen. They'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. Leclerc, Brendan Hartley, and Lance Stroll, Sirotkin, and Marcus Ericsson rounds off the grid. And with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track.
Right, so taking a look at the race strategy then for the German Grand Prix. It's going to be a 2-stop, it looks like. Ultra soft tyres to 2 sets of softs. Not even using the medium tyres, much like last episode, kind of avoiding the hardest compound available. Maybe there might be some midfield runners trying a 1-stop. We'll have to see about that, really. I'm not too sure on the wear level of medium tyres, but fuel-wise, we'll decrease that. And we're actually up into P7 on the grid due to Verstappen getting a penalty there. So my lucky number 7. Let's see if it's going to be lucky here today in a very overcast Hockenheim circuit. As we go to 5, red inside lights then for the German Grand Prix, round number 11 of the 2018 Career Mode Season 1, and we're underway as the lights are out, and it's a okay start there compared to Hockenheimring. Ricciardo ahead of us has got a good one on Hamilton into turn 1. Can we go around the outside of Hockenheimring? It's going to be close, very, very tight first turn. We don't make it work, so we're still in P7, and now Hockenheimring is actually going to try and go down the inside of the Red Bull car. So can we try and follow him? We're taking a wider entry there, trying to straight up the car a little bit faster and see if we can get a move on. Hockenheimring nearly plows the back of him and nearly off circuit there, up into high on the ERS mode, try and see if we can slipstream Hockenheimring. I'm guessing Hockenheimring's also on high or overtake mode of the ERS because he's trying to maybe overtake Ricciardo, but we're going to try and dive down the inside, catch him napping a little bit because he's too focused on Ricciardo there clearly, and he's gone so slow into the apex. We were able to nip it down his inside, and behind me I think there's a car trying to follow us as well as we go toe to toe. Hockenheimring's still just about there. He does tuck in eventually, but for a split second there I thought he was fully committing to the outside there to stay, but we're up into P6 then, so a very decent opening first lap then. A little bit slow at the start, but then eventually we made it work, and yeah, we're going to try and now close up on Ricciardo maybe, because as Ricciardo tries to overtake Bottas, these two are going to slow each other up. At the moment it's a 1-2 for Ferrari, followed by Hamilton, then Bottas at the moment just behind Hamilton, but maybe not for too long as Ricciardo tries to move around the outside with without DRS that time on lap 2 into the hairpin, but the next lap he will have DRS, so crucially he might not have got the pass done on lap 2, but on lap 3 maybe or lap 4 he might be able to get this done. So let's see, into the end of sector 1, a very awkward off-camber right-hander before we go to the left then, and then onto the main straight. DRS open then for Ricciardo it will be when they cross the line. ERS flowing as well, and let's see if that electrical energy can have enough power in the back of that Red Bull car to try and get him ahead of Bottas. Down the inside they spark away. Bottas surely doesn't have it to defend, and Ricciardo will nip ahead, and Bottas a little bit of contact made, and he's essentially punted off a little bit out of that position, and so it's Ricciardo up into P4, but Bottas comes back. There's a bit of contact with the Mercedes and Red Bull. Whoa, Bottas really aggressive there, unlike the Finns, and he makes some contact with Ricciardo in the right-hander, and so now we're right up the chuff of Bottas. Can we make a move now? We've gained so much time there. We've gotten away from Hockenheimring, and we're now right up the gearbox of the Finn. Not got the momentum, though, to make a move into the inside there. That would have been a bit of a stupid dive bomb, so I'm going to have to stick behind and wait. We've got yellow flags up ahead, and I think that's one of the top cars going slowly, potentially, in the last corner. It's a Ferrari car. I think it's Raikkonen there. We'll have to see as the car gets closer, the other Ferrari, and I think it is Sebastian Vettel. Yes, leads the way at his home Grand Prix, ahead of Hamilton then. Raikkonen out, seemingly, of the German Grand Prix, pulling up on the main straight, right in front of that huge grandstand. That'll be a real shame for Kimi, the man who I believe leads the championship, I think. I really haven't been, to be honest, paying attention to the top flight. You know, it's kind of hard to when you're in a midfield team. You kind of just focus on yourself, really, and the fights around you, but that's big news then. So Vettel leads the way from Hamilton with that really lovely camera. Actually, I've really grown to like that camera shot of the kind of side shoulder cam where you can see through the halo kind of arch, and Hamilton trying to hunt down Vettel. Meanwhile, we've got Ricciardo still defending from Valtteri Bottas. We're close behind him, so effectively now we're up into P5. We're at very lofty heights once again in this Haas. We find ourselves in a place where maybe you think it's not meant to be, but we're there on merit and pace and a bit of luck as well. You need a bit of that in motorsport always, and so we're still pressurizing Bottas because he's also being held up. Maybe that, I feel like the Mercedes might have the pace to get away from us if it weren't for Ricciardo. You can see again in the stadium section, looking around left to right, just don't have the actual raw speed and downforce to carry enough momentum through the right-hander. That's usually flat out quality to make a move, and eventually though will come in now on lap 5. This is for our pit stop. Bottas has already been in. He came in on lap 4 actually, straight away there. We cut away, he came in straight after that basically. So Bottas might have an undercut on us, but I felt like the need to try and get in some clean air and try and chase after Ricciardo and use maybe his long-range toe to maybe see if we can gain anything there. Pit stop onto soft tyres, and so we are definitely doing that 2-stop because the ultra soft tyres were wearing out so much. Towards the end of that lap, the rear end was just going so much, and so we've come out behind Nico Hülkenberg. So Hülkenberg was behind us, remember, so he's jumped us, so that's been an undercut that's worked out for him. But the thing that will work out for us is he's getting held up now. You can see a huge train of, I don't know, I want to say like 6-7 cars there. So yeah, looks like we can lick our lips a little bit, and let's go do some overtaking, shall we? We've got a whole gaggle of cars that has been slowed down into turn 1, including Valtteri Bottas and Mercedes there. Hülkenberg, we're going to try around the outside as he's slow into the next turn, and up ahead it's Marcus Ericsson there, side by side with Bottas momentarily. We get Hülkenberg then on the inside. He kind of half and half made that side-by-side for a bit. And then up ahead, like I said, Ericsson was side-by-side with Bottas. And then down the main straight, your eyes aren't deceiving you. That is Marcus Ericsson, the Sauber, actually going for a move and trying to re-overtake Valtteri Bottas in a straight line. And he's actually done him on traction there. Ericsson, go on, lad. He's actually down the inside of Bottas, and Bottas is having to really try hard. And he's actually got ahead of him for a moment there, but Bottas sticks it in, under braking. Big deep brake zone for the Mercedes car. Obviously, you would imagine eventually the Mercedes should do it, but look at that still. Ericsson's actually still side by side there in the little dipping right-hander before we get to the stadium section, and now it's my turn to maybe overtake Ericsson on the right-hand side. Very, very tight portion of the track there, but we just managed to find some room around the outside, a little bit of contact, but then squeeze through, get the traction down, and we're up into P12 then. But Bottas, for a second there, he was shook. He was shook by Marcus Ericsson in the bloody Sauber. Go on, mate. So, at the moment, up ahead of us there, let's get back to the action. We've still got some stuff going on in turns 1 as we're up into lap 8 now. And Bottas is still getting held up in traffic. That may be the story of this race. Traffic galore. Down the inside we go. Bottas, he almost does not see us in the mirrors and almost pinches us off the circuit there. But Valtteri, my man, you need to give us the room. And we're on the outside. DRS open, but he's got the straight line speed. He's also got DRS. And, of course, the Mercedes power unit. Very good. But here comes Hülkenberg then. As I go for a move on Bottas, surely not. Hülkenberg is going to make a dive on me, and it's 3 wide now. I'm almost completely squeezed out my own room by Bottas and Hülkenberg V-shaped pincering me into the apex there. Absolutely stunning stuff there by Hülkenberg to actually go for it there and have the balls to send him down the inside of 2 cars into the hairpin. Doesn't work out for him, but fair play still nonetheless. But eventually we want to try and overtake Bottas, but he's going to overtake the Williams car, I believe, up ahead first of, I think that's Sirotkin there, the Russian in the Williams into turn 1. Nice and early brake zone, turn in early, get the power down earlier, and that means we're going to have a good run on the Russian and the Finn, but I've got no room to go anyway. You can see I'm literally blockaded by those 2 cars going side by side. We're going to try and find the pace around the outside of Sirotkin there, but in a straight line. Look at the Williams car, actually very, very decent. I'm not too sure, obviously, maybe Sirotkin has overtake mode or hot lap mode on the acceleration there, but the Williams, it may be horrendous in the corners, but not too shabby in a straight line. We're going to send it down the inside of him. We narrowly miss the back end of Van Dorn. That actually means Sirotkin is still ahead of us. Not ideal, and you can see actually fair play. This is why Bottas got held up so much. I was about to say I don't know how on earth Bottas has not overtaken all these cars much faster, but I'm actually struggling to overtake the Williams there, and there we go. So it's not just the AI cars this year that are finding traffic an issue. It's also me, it's well modeled, because in 2018, how many times we talked about dirty air and having to be in clean air, and the top cars just hate being in traffic with midfield cars because it's genuinely difficult to overtake them, and so we have to dive down the inside of Van Dorn. Bit of a big dive bomb to the stadium section. We have to get that move done and eventually find some clean air, but then again more traffic. Strolls Williams this time. Bottas going to go down the inside this time, though. I'm determined to overtake the Williams car a lot faster than we did last time. And look at that, Bottas has been held up a treat here. Here we go on the right-hand side for the double overtake. Big, big lunge into the next right-hander, and we get a double move done. Across the racing line we go. Look behind us, and we're up into P8. That's how you do it, Bottas. Up into P8, ahead of 2 cars there. Bottas will try and overtake, re-overtake us, actually. He's already overtaken Stroll. And we're going to go to the inside there. No way you're taking the inside, my man, Bottas. So we defend to the inside. He's going to try it around the outside. We'll open up the steering wheel, try and force him out off circuit there a little bit. And he's still got the traction there, but then we'll climb up the gears, ERS deploying into high, and we'll eventually get that right in front of the Mercedes grandstand. We'll overtake a Mercedes car and keep him at bay. And now, can we try and go chasing after Brendan Hartley, hopefully? That will be the ultimate goal for me, I think. But it's not even going to be Brendan Hartley by the time we close up to the next little pack there. It's going to be Sainz first, then Hartley. So I don't actually know what's gone on there with Carlos Sainz, how he's ended up here in front of me and behind Hartley. But nonetheless, I'll try and overtake him if we can. The Renault might be a little bit harder than the Williams cars, but we did just overtake a Mercedes and have been keeping him at bay. So let's try and just do the same thing on Carlos Sainz, shall we? To turn 1 a little bit earlier on the brakes, get the turn in a lot earlier, open the DRS, throttle. Here we go, just on the left-hand side, try and go around the outside, just like we did to Hülkenberg. And if we can find the room, maybe just about, Sainz nearly pinches us straight off the circuit on the curbing, but we find the room. Get the elbows out a little bit on the exit, and we're back up into, well, not back up into P7, but it might be I might have to say back up into P7 because Bottas is again lurking. This man never gives up at overtaking me. He's down the inside there. He's got his nose in there. That's the red proximity arrow, but we're going to keep it ahead for now. But he's overtaken Sainz in a very easy straight line overtake there. So Bottas and me seems to be the number one duo here at Germany. We can't get rid of each other around Hockenheim, and now we close up finally. And it's actually taken us a whole extra lap since we overtook Sainz, because actually the Honda engine wasn't too bad in a straight line, and Hartley on the last lap actually kept me at bay down the main straight. And so this time we have to wait for the second time round to go down his inside and get him there. And the annoying thing is, though, if we look behind us, or on the mini-map at least, Bottas I think is going to overtake Hartley very, very easy in this straight line. So I appear to be doing the hard work of getting the cars overtaken in the corners, and then Bottas just walks past them in a straight line. At least I know which overtakes I prefer to do. It's way more fun in the corners. So we're going to go down into what is P5 now, as Gasly makes his pit stop. So I believe the two Toro Rossos are trying a one-stop, and along with them is Kevin Magnussen. Here he is. We haven't seen much of our teammate this race, and he is doing a one-stop. Remember, he got knocked out in Q2, so he started on soft tyres, he's now on mediums, and he's going to the end of this Grand Prix, and so I need to overtake him, and then pull away from him, make a pit stop, and then try and re-overtake him. So Magnussen with an inspired strategy here, and it's just a shame, like, I couldn't do a one-stop. I know already there's probably going to be comments of why did I try the one-stop. It literally was impossible for me this time around, unlike China or, you know, maybe the French Grand Prix. The tyre wear just wasn't there for me today. The ultra softs, with the traffic I had, the battling I was doing with the likes of Bottas and the Renaults earlier on, it just was not possible to take those tyres long enough. You know, in China, I had a very easy time with the fact that I wasn't really fighting that many cars at the very beginning, so I literally did concentrate on just saving tyres. But you know, you can't really concentrate on saving tyres and be competitive with other cars around you at the same time. So it's just how the kind of pennies drop really for us. So we're going to come in now for our second stop. We overtook Magnussen there very easily down the inside, but alas, it's no use because we make a pit stop. He gets back ahead of us, and it's going to be a tall order to re-catch him. Even if the mediums go off and they fall off the cliff, he's so far ahead that it's going to be very, very difficult. I mean, you know, put it this way: we're behind Pierre Gasly in the Toro Rosso. We're in a Toro Rosso sandwich ahead of Hartley, and we've got to actually go out and chase after Pierre Gasly in the Toro Rosso. Both the Toro Rossos legitimately up here in the top 10 for now on a one-stop as well. So it's been a really great strategy for a lot of these midfield teams, and the top guys, well, the top guys, the top three teams, they have the pace to make up for it. I do not have that same sort of pace. I mean, we've had some good results this season, but we don't quite have that pace to make up a whole entire pit stop sometimes. Unlike these guys, like I said, literally the Ferrari and the Red Bull now closing up to Magnussen in the kind of closing kind of couple laps here. It's Vettel, I think, round the outside. Of course, Raikkonen's out of the race, so Vettel down the inside of Magnussen there. So I believe it's Hamilton that leads the way at the German Grand Prix. So Hamilton trying to do it in Vettel's backyard. Vettel's overtaking K-Mag there. For now, Magnussen will try and hold Ricciardo at bay, I believe that is, and he's on the inside there. Ricciardo is, and actually no, that's the camera works deceived me. Actually, Magnussen was still side by side with Vettel. Fair play, fair play. But eventually, Ricciardo is going to have a good run at Magnussen through turns one in what is still such a gloomy Hockenheim race. I'm just really noticing it, but there's so much fog, or apparent fog, and the lack thereof of any sun. It really has been a very dreary episode, and I can only apologise for the weather, but Ricciardo still doesn't manage to get him into the end of Sector 1, but now on the straight, surely it's going to, you know, Ricciardo would have saved up some ERS here, some battery, and there he goes on the inside, sparking away, but the Red Bull climbs ahead of the Haas. You know, so many times this season so far, it seems like we've actually had enough pace to match the Red Bull cars here and there, but it's just one of those cases of Ricciardo's on the faster tyre as well, got the battery saved up, inevitable, and eventually for us it's going to be inevitable that we overtake Pierre Gasly, because obviously the Toro Rosso's also on mediums, and although Gasly was a fair few seconds ahead, I've just been pushing flat out here, and I've got to say, it really has been flat out. Like, it has not been an easy time catching up to Pierre, but you get him down the inside, and we overtake him for what is going to be P5 in this German Grand Prix. But literally, I was sweating so hard, pushing flat out, lap after lap, to actually catch up to Gasly. And now we've got an absolute gap and a half to try and close up to Magnussen, and it's just not going to be doable. You know, the gap is just too far. Meanwhile, we've got a fight between Ricciardo and Vettel now. So Vettel thought maybe his race was done, but Ricciardo has got the momentum here around Germany, and so it's maybe not going to be a great home Grand Prix for Ricciardo, for Vettel, I should say, because Ricciardo is trying to spoil the party and get up into what will be, I think, P2 or 3 in this Grand Prix, as Ricciardo goes round on the inside there into the hairpin. Vettel seems pretty defenseless, actually, and Ricciardo is going to be able to squeeze Vettel out, and he's up the order, and Vettel will hopefully, will just have to, well, not hopefully, will have to settle, unfortunately, for a third place, I think that is, because it's going to be Magnussen ending up in P4. I'm in P5. You can see, though, I pushed so hard, and Magnussen's tyres went off so badly in this race that I actually ended up seeing him right in front of me there. Maybe 2-3 more laps, I might have been able to overtake Magnussen, but alas, not meant to be. And so that's unfortunately Magnussen finishing ahead of me, but it's a brilliant P4 and P5 for Haas here at the German Grand Prix.
All right, race over. Take care of the car on the way in.
Brilliant stuff from Mercedes today. That's another historic win. And I have to wonder, Anthony Davidson, just what set them apart from the competition here.
Well, tyre management probably played quite a large role in the outcome of this one. As ever, it's not just about speed, it's all about maintaining that speed consistently over a stint, over a race distance. So being able to keep up the lap times while still being smooth on the controls and gentle on the tyres, that's really where the race was won today.
Welcome then to the podium, our top 3 drivers. What a great effort from them today in a very difficult race.
Really good race, actually, for us as a team. Of course, I was a little bit annoyed that the two-stop didn't really work out in the end, but to be fair, Magnussen was the only one, really, that made that huge step up with the one-stop. Obviously, kudos to Toro Rosso as well, but really, Magnussen's the only one that elevated so high. But still, got to be happy. P4, P5 for the team. Obviously, Magnussen gets back ahead of us in the championship, but like I mentioned at the end of last episode, still, it's really nice to see that, you think maybe I've got the measure of him, France, Canada, we beat him twice there, but then he comes back here like this in Germany, bounces back, and it's really good to see that. And all of this pushing each other is meaning that we're still ahead of Red Bull in the constructors, which is really fantastic for us as a team.
Great work out there today. How do you think it went? That was an epic battle today. How do you think this will play out?
Obviously, we're back in the rivalry at the moment. Magnussen's beating me, but I want to go for the right-hand side one. It's been a good battle. It'll be a treat for the fans.
You scraped the walls a few times. Were you struggling for grip?
So here, I didn't really know what to answer. Again, a question about grazing the wall here and there. I'm going to go for trying to motivate the aero staff by saying we didn't have downforce, maybe.
It was more like Dodgems than Formula 1 today, wasn't it?
It was a lot like Dodgems. Obviously, that kind of sequence where there was so many cars out of turn 1 not going flat out. It was definitely a case of avoiding them. But I thought I'd go for nudges, but that decreased my rep, unfortunately.
Great. Well, that's everything.
So that was a little bit odd because I thought the nudges comment wasn't that bad. A little nudge here and there. I thought that was a little bit tongue-in-cheek, might give me a showmanship perk, but no, decreased the rep there with my team, but that's fine. We're still leading the rivalry then, this second one with Kevin Magnussen, so I'm hopeful we can finish out and beat Magnussen in this second rivalry to make it 1-1 there, and obviously we did the job against Esteban Ocon, but the rep overall goes down a little bit for Haas, but that's fine. I mean, we can try and get it back next episode. And then now, moving on to finally the upgrades then, we're going to go to another major chassis weight reduction here, and look how far we're getting to this chassis tree is looking lovely. I'm actually quite proud of the progress we made as a team in the chassis department here. Like, it's looking really nice. Like, seeing how big this part of the tree is and how far into the green we are with it, it's looking good. So yeah, we're going to go for the major chassis weight reduction there, and so that's going to be a further one. And then after that, the next upgrade, it's going to be a ultimate upgrade. But look here also, it's something I didn't know is new for 2018 is in the chassis tree, there's also brakes. So initially in 2017, remember, in the F1 2017 game, they only had tyre wear, weight redistribution and reduction. Now they've also got brake improvement, so I can improve the braking power of my car with the chassis department. So a surprise that I didn't know there. So looking good. You saw there in the chart, like I mentioned before, myself, McLaren, Renault, still steadily going on, and so I'm really liking the vibe of where we're going with this car. It's feeling better and better every single race, really. And so guys, if you have enjoyed the episode, hit that like button. Let me know your thought in the comments below. If you are new around here, you can subscribe. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.